Good afternoon, everybody. This is Amuse News. I'm your host, RJ. I am here today to bring you a couple really interesting guests that we're going to talk with about a podcast that they do called Pizza Pod Party. Podcast that I've really been enjoying, and I hope everybody gives a chance to listen to the interview and then listen to the pod. Um, I don't have a lot of news today, but I do want to give a quick shout out to the Julia Child Foundation. I got to go to a dinner last night in Manhattan, and kind of celebrating the awards that they do. And I was at Manhattan, which is this fancy place down in the financial district. Really amazing views of the city. But the Julia Child Foundation gives out these awards to chefs. This is the 10th year. Along with the awards, it doesn't have to be a chef, but it's been mostly chefs. They give out an award, and the winner gets to use the money to give to charity. And it was interesting. We were at Danny Meyer's restaurant, and Danny Meyer was there and talking about the organizations that he gave money to, and it was cool to see. And they announced the next winner, which is the 10th year winner, Alice Waters. Surprised she hasn't won before, but she won. So Grace Young and Danny Meyer were there to kind of talk about this award and the winner, and it was really fun. So thanks to Julia Child Foundation for all the work they're doing. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking to a James Beard Media Award nominee about her cookbook. It's called At the Table. Catherine Miller is the author. She'll be here joining me tomorrow here. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming. I also just want to say quickly that, as I've been talking about, we have our 15th anniversary tour fundraiser. It is nearly wrapped up. This afternoon, our auction for our Nashville package ends. All the money raised goes to fund our education programs. But just as one more reminder, if you're watching live or listening to this on Thursday afternoon, this is an opportunity to bid on 2 nights at the Russell Hotel in Nashville, dinner for 2 at Nashville's Blue Oyster Restaurant, and a VIP experience for 2 to the Brooklyn Bowl with Nashville singer and amazing person Maggie Rose. So go to charitybuzz.com or click on the link in the show notes to check that out. There's about just a few hours left to bid, so check that out. Okay, like I said, I'm going to keep the intro short because I want to bring in our guests, so I'm going to do that now. Hey, Arthur. Hey, Alfred.
Hey,
Hi.
RJ.
Thank you guys for joining. I'm looking forward to talking to you. How you guys doing? Where are you guys today? What part of the United States are you in?
I'm in Montclair, New Jersey right now. Thanks for having us, by the way. This is awesome, RJ. Thank you.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I'm based out of Manhattan in the East Village.
Awesome. Cool. It's a beautiful day here. I was in Manhattan this morning, and now I'm back in Philadelphia, and it's a beautiful spring day for all of us, I think. So thank you guys for joining. So you guys started this podcast, Pizza Pod Party, last year. You're about 40 episodes in, and Alfred, I remember talking to you when you were putting it together, and it's a cool concept, and we can never have enough pizza content, but I know Alfred, Arthur, you guys came together to create this. How did it come together, this show?
Well, it's funny you say that it's only like a year old, where that is sort of technically true, but really it's about 4.5, 5 years, because the pandemic happened. We had the show basically all figured out until the pandemic happened, and then that sort of we were put on hold. But real quick, I was working at SiriusXM. So this is my version of the story. I was working at SiriusXM, and one of the shows I worked on was a show I hosted with Chris Hasselt called Sit Down with Alfred and Chris. It was mainly pop culture, but we started wondering, it was live, and we started talking about pizza, and it'd be fun to do an hour in pizza. What would that look like? And I booked Arthur as a guest because he's an expert, and I knew comedian Laurie Kilmartin was in town, and I'd worked with her in the past. So I was like, do you want to come on and talk pizza? And we'll take phone calls. And we have an expert coming on. And it went really well. And then fast forward, well, we did a few episodes of that, and they all seemed to, like, we got tons of callers, and it was just a lot of fun. And just talking about like the culture of pizza, not really about a lot of the technical stuff, just about what we love about it, and sort of those dumb lowbrow arguments about it. And then in between jobs, I had reached out to a bunch of people. Arthur got back to me, and sort of independently, we both were thinking there's something to this pizza content. And we went to a pizzeria in Manhattan and literally hashed out what you hear right now on the show. And that was about 4 years ago.
Wait, Alfred, I'm learning something. You reached
Uh-oh.
out to a bunch of other people besides me that you were going to have on.
Well, Arthur, now do you want me to explain? I was
Yeah,
laid
I
off
think
and I
we
sent
should.
an
Yeah, I think
email
this is
out
the
to,
time. Yeah.
it's also very possible the email I sent was to both of you. I sent it to everyone I know in media being like, hey, anyone want to get coffee with me? And Arthur said yes. And I thought, let's work on a pizza podcast.
I think I got the email also. So thank you for including me in that.
Hopefully it didn't
Arthur,
reek of desperation.
no. It was extremely great tone. Arthur, what about you? What was your kind of like motivation behind starting a pizza podcast?
I mean, I've gone down the pizza rabbit hole going back to, circa 2012, I think it was, when I made my first 35 best pizzas in America list for the Daily Meal. And, from then on, pizza became kind of an obsession, a fascination. It was something that saw a lot of resonance. It was always one of the most highly trafficked pieces on the Daily Meal. Every year we did it. And as you've seen with the Portnoy blowing up over the past couple of years. It's
Already mentioning
hits,
him, huh? Wow.
It hits a nerve.
Getting into it.
It hits a nerve with
It's my
people,
favorite.
and so I feel like it's just been. Albert, do you want to talk for me? Go for it.
Go for it.
You're welcome to speak for me. Yeah, I just feel like it's something that I found more and more to learn about, and so I was definitely of the mind when Alfred and I were talking that there was endless amounts of topics, news items, culture, and just stuff to talk about when it comes to pizza. And that's been the case.
Yeah, interesting. And so can I ask you guys about what do you think about the one bite? What do you think about it? Are you allowed to express?
I feel like
this?
I feel totally free to talk about it because one thing that is part of the dynamic is that Arthur's been in the food world for a long time. I am not. I've been in the podcast radio world for a long time, and I know he is a tough thing for people to talk about. I just know that. I know people have sort of off the air conversations about him. I don't care. I don't love it. I just don't love. I love debate. I love argument. I used to work in politics. Like I think discussion is a great thing and people shouldn't hold back on their opinions. But I've never liked when anyone sort of weaponizes social media and makes it not fun. I don't know of any terribly recent things that he's done, but I know in the past, like if journalists aren't into him and have given him a negative review, which by the way, he reviews people all the time. If someone gave him a negative review, he essentially allowed his minions to make their life a living hell and didn't really stop it. That makes argument so it pollutes the waters to such a degree that I personally I can't stand it. And I think pizza is such a fun thing. And it's such a fun thing to have different opinions, to argue about it at a pizzeria or beyond. And I just think that that's no fun. And it makes everything worse. And especially right now, man, we don't need more toxicity like that.
Yeah.
You cannot really debate the effect that he has and Barstool Sports has on pizzerias. There's something called the Portnoy bump. There's the Barstool bump, whatever you want to call it. Even negative places that are negatively reviewed still see an increase in sales, is my understanding from talking with people. So, you definitely can't, it's hard to debate that. And a lot of pizzerias look to him as a savior and look to him as a guiding light for somebody, this is somebody who's highlighting us in the industry. And so, there's that element of it too. I agree with Alfred in terms of the weaponization. And I think that, I know it's tongue in cheek in terms of one bite, everybody knows the rules and there's never just one bite. I don't get the joke. I never have. You always need two bites. It doesn't work for me. And enough people, but you know what? It doesn't. I don't think that it's made for me. It's made for other people, and that's totally fine. That's that's their prerogative to be interested by it.
But I also want to mention that I didn't even know he was a thing until we started doing this really. And then I started realizing that he was doing the pizza stuff. Like to me, I just followed him in the context of Barstool. So like that his identity doesn't really have any influence on what we're doing. I think it's sort of separate, but his name pops up all the time. I tell so many people I'm involved at the pizza project and he's the first thing they mention, which was shocking to me at first.
Yeah, but it is a polarizing.
Yeah.
I also think the approach is kind of polarizing because, like you said, Arthur, you can only get so much from one bite, and also sometimes he's like, "Yeah, it's pretty good," and you're like, All right.
What does that mean?
I
Yeah,
didn't
I
learn a
mean,
lot, you know.
numbers to me also, and this is funny coming from somebody who has ranked pizzerias for many years, and so I realize that I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth at the same time. But I think number reviews mean very little to me. Rankings of places, I can spin a tale for why that makes sense, and having a methodology. A random number picked out of the air, 9.3 versus a 5.6 or whatever. I don't know what that means. Like, it's never meant anything to me, but I don't really want to talk that much more about Dave Portnoy.
Yeah, fair
But also,
enough.
just to give Arthur some credit here, Arthur is like a food writer. Arthur knows, he's studied food. He's been to culinary institutes. Like he understands this stuff. And so he does have credibility and a background. I don't. So like, if anything, like I can sort of almost relate to the Portnoy side, but it's like, I also know my opinions don't mean much. Anytime it becomes so ego driven, and I know we'll get to it, but we have guests. I want to talk to other people. I want to gain, sort of subliminally like empathy through talking to other people, even if you're arguing with them. It's supposed to be inclusive, not exclusive.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. Well, yeah, let's talk about your guests, because first of all, you've had like two of my absolute favorite podcasters on, Emily Bazelon and Guy Raz, which are great.
Awesome.
I mean, the Slate Political Gabfest, I think it was the first podcast I ever listened to in 2007 or something. I still listen every week. Amazing. And Guy Raz is like an icon here, but you guys, so many others. Is pizza like an easy entree in terms of getting, or do you have to make a case to all these people, or are they like, pizza? Sure. Yeah. Sounds great.
It's very funny because I try very hard, and we talk about guests. We try very hard to get just people we like too. That's a big thing, is that people that can express themselves and are storytellers first, and then I think about what they think about pizza, because I know pizza's so ubiquitous in our culture and in sort of Americana that I know they're going to have pizza. So I don't even research if they are pizza fans or not. When I go after for the guest first, if I like them or if we like them. And so it's interesting to your point. Yeah, people do like talking about it. Also, a lot of shows are strictly there for promotional purposes for people. And I know enough, because I've worked in the industry for about 20 years and booking guests for 20 years, that certainly people love to promote stuff, but they also get sick of it. And if you're not a major show, why promote it? But if you give them something that is fun for them to talk about, they can talk about something maybe different, that is enticing. And that does help us. I mean, it's not like our batting average is, 100 or like, 100% where we are getting everyone we ask for, but we have a fairly good batting average, because I think people know that we're going to give them a platform to sort of talk about something that everyone loves, which is pizza.
And everybody has an opinion about it, like even like researching some of the folks that we were having on recently. We have Marina Franklin coming up, and I had been looking for stuff on her and pizza, and I really didn't find that much, but I wasn't worried going into the interview, because I was like, I have a bunch of questions I want to ask her, and I know that when I start the conversation, she's going to have opinions about a whole load of different things, and that happens with everybody. People are surprised themselves by how many opinions that they have that come out on the show, I think also.
I think for the most part, I'm the least knowledgeable person on the show at all times. Like, that is
Alfred loves to make out that he's the dummy every opportunity again. So that it creates a lower bar for him to jump over.
You mentioned like Guy Raz. We've had tons of people. Ali Valshi from MSNBC, like a lot of people that I didn't know were that into pizza, and they know everything, and I just feel like, oh, I like eating pizza and drinking beer. I definitely come across as the dumb, which is fine with me.
Someone's got to play the role, and then you can easily then you say some stuff, and then people are like, wow, this guy's really smart. I think it's a good set. It's a good setup.
Always keeping the bar low.
What did you guys, how has it evolved in terms of what you expected versus where it is? Like, are the conversations, do they become much more, I don't know, open, and like, is pizza a gateway to people sharing their deepest feelings, or has it met your expectations in terms of how deep you'd go on pizza and other topics based on what you thought when you were starting?
I'm curious to know what Arthur thinks about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were definitely of the mind. When we talk about like the elevator pitch version of what this show is, it's, tell us what you like about pizza or how you eat your pizza, and we'll tell you who you are, and and that'll tell us like who you are, basically. And I think that we've had episodes where the first one with Roy Wood Jr., where he talks about having to go to the other side of campus in order to have pizza delivered to him as an African American at a historically Black university. There were parts of the area that people would not deliver pizzas to. And so talking about that, that's a very real life understanding of where people are at in American society, where they've been, where we're going. And, you're having conversations like that. We'll have conversations about divorce and pizza, death and pizza, and sex and pizza. And I think that we knew that we would have the potential for those conversations. So I think I'm more buoyed by the fact that we have had those conversations. Certainly we've had a lot of laughs also, and unexpectedly lots of laughter, I think, over maybe not so much to Alfred, but over the course of the season.
I think for me, how it's one thing that's I think I'm personally very proud of, and I don't know if it's registering with other people, but it's almost exactly how I pictured it. Literally, when we first sat down to talk about it, it was like, all right, I want Arthur to ground us with pizza knowledge. He'll do pizza news. He'll teach the audience about a pizza topic, but we also want to have a guest in there to just see how they view the world through pizza, have it be funny, really get great communicators. I'm thrilled we've been able to get the guests we've been able to get. They've been every single one. There's really not a guest that I've been disappointed with. And I know that I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it. It's 100% true. But it's also because we know what we want and we try to get people that are great communicators. And so I think one thing, though, I will say, I would like to see more of. And I think if we had more time, because it's just the two of us working on this thing. Every aspect of it is just the two of us. And I would like to see more satire. I try to slip in some stuff here and there, but there's just podcasting in general is just ripe for imitation and ripe for satire. And I want to do more of that. I try to sneak in some stuff here and there, but I would like, I initially envisioned it to have a bit more of that. So I want more of that.
Well, you had Jail Coven on this week.
Yeah.
Which is that I like the idea of people coming on who are characters in the world, and they talk, you see another side too.
Yeah. I mean, he does one of the, and I know it almost seems like we should be sick of Trump impressions. He truly does one of the best. And his is so good because he's gone inside Trump's brain. And so he can improvise as Trump. And he was improvising, doing Trump and pizza. And it was super dirty, super funny. That's the other thing I kind of like about the show. Is that it gets wild. We had Dave Hill, the comedian, on, and it was like he just basically laid out his pizza manifesto, and he's like kind of this super silly, outlandish comedian, and it was hilarious. Super different than episode we had with Guy Raz, as you mentioned, entirely different. And I love that. I think everyone, I think ideally an audience knows of all of those people, and they're all very different. And I think that's there should be some kind of connective tissue, but they also should be very different.
Yeah. So I want to ask you guys, I had a friend on here who very closely follows the Pizzaholics Facebook group. And I'm fascinated by these groups that are, constantly arguing about regional pizza and different kind, people are yelling at each other about Buffalo or whatever. What have you guys heard surprising or interesting pizza takes that on the show that stick with you?
That's an
surprising or interesting takes. I mean, we were talking about ketchup on pizza with Marina in an upcoming episode. That's been something that you've seen on social for a little while. Wow. You didn't ask me for a trend, but I mean, we could talk trends. It's surprising takes. People's approaches to reheating their pizza. We have a couple of questions that we standard ask at the end. People's takes on white pizza. People's takes on, whether they blot their pies for the grease or they don't. There are a lot of takes, and people, some people think it's okay to microwave their pizza. I don't, and that's a wrong take, I will say. But I don't know, surprising takes. I don't know, Alfred, what do you think?
For me, in terms of surprising takes, I assumed everyone enjoyed cold pizza. I have been kind of amazed the amount of people It might be sort of 50-50 at this point, but the amount of people that are sort of disgusted, that love pizza, that are disgusted with cold pizza, that was shocking to me because one of the joys in life is having leftover pizza and munching on it when you're not supposed to in the morning.
Yeah, my daughter loves cold pizza in the morning. I have to heat it up.
You
It's
have
just
to, really.
even within the family, there's a lot of different
Wow,
feelings
yeah.
about this. What
It
about
was
trends in pizza?
I think
Sorry,
it
go
was
ahead, Arthur.
no, I was gonna say I think it was fun. I always like to talk about this one. Alfred likes to roll his eyes, but Roy Wood Jr.'s son also was eating crust first, and so and he was talking about that. And I thought that was a surprising take. Trends wise, I mean, I think it depends on the kinds of trends we're talking about. Regional styles have definitely been a trend. I did a report for WGSN when I worked there a couple of years ago. It's a food trend it was a forecasting company, and I was in the food trend forecasting division. Definitely the regional styles of pizza have been on the rise. We saw Detroit over the past 10 years, and now over the past 5 years, and more specifically over the past, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years, it's been Chicago tavern style, or thin crust pizza as it's called, has been a big trend. But I think an exploration of other styles, regional and international. Khachapuri has been something that people have been, Georgian quote unquote pizza with the egg, the boat kind of pizza has been something that people have been trying to make happen as a trend for a while. You're seeing elevated pies, artisanal approaches to these regional styles, especially here in New York City. You see Mama's 2 and Linda Street, within a block of each other now in their West Village locations. The lines between of those two places almost touch in the middle of the street because they're so long and they've become so famous. But both of those are very elevated approaches with artisanal or high high quality ingredients. I think one of the other things that you've seen is the augmentation of frozen pizza in the frozen food aisle in grocery stores, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. People were looking for higher quality stuff, and there are definitely brands and individuals who've stepped into that market. Augmented textures and flavors, those are things that I think you'll see, we're seeing more of and we'll see more of. Visually, also, pizzas have become very, artistic. You see these crazy lashings of ricotta or burrata exploding, or all kinds of drizzles and hot honeys and all of that. And obviously, hot honey has been a big trend over the past 6 years or so. And pizza's catering to dietary lifestyles, gluten-free, cauliflower, all of that stuff. So definitely all of those are big trends that we're continuing to bolster, and you'll see more of over the coming years.
Yeah, but Arthur, other than that, I mean, can you give us something?
I mean, pickles on pizza. Don't challenge me,
question.
Alfred. I'll do it. Pickles on pizza has been a thing. Also,
you do it in alphabetical order this time.
International flavors. I think also, these, taking a look at one of the things that I'm always fascinated by is looking at menus of brands, global brands around the world and what they do outside of America, because I always have the feeling that the most fun and interesting stuff is happening somewhere else, to be honest with you. It's happening in Japan, it's happening in Taiwan, it's happening in Korea, it's happening in China. That's, India. Those are the places that I'm looking for trends also.
Well, now I want to talk about all those things, but we don't really have time. So I'm just going to say that I did. I'm from Northern Ohio. I'm from Toledo, and there was a one bite sort of review of this place that I grew up eating pizza from, and I think it's tavern style. It's like almost like a crackery, flaky crust. And I went back last year and got that pizza, and I was like, it's so good, but I don't see it like out on the East Coast where I live. But it's interesting. I don't know. Growing up, I just that was the pizza that I ate, and I didn't know that there were hundreds of different kinds of pizza, or that every place, every city had different kinds of pizza. Do you guys have a favorite, or are you all pizza people?
I like all pizza for the most part. I certainly like some more than others. I grew up also just loving deep dish. I'm from the Chicago suburbs, and so there's a certain
Are you from the Chicago suburbs, Alfred? Where are you from?
Can we mute him, please? There are a handful of places out there, even in the suburbs, that I think are just as good as any pizza I've ever had in my life. It took me a while to really warm up to New York pizza, but then at this point, I do love so many places in New York City. So
and then you married somebody from the Bronx too, so that was the end of that for you.
My wife is an Italian from the Bronx, which she did open my eyes, but I think I opened her eyes to, she likes deep dish too. The times we visit Chicago, so. I think there's a lot there to love, all different types. But Arthur, what's your favorite type?
I mean, so I definitely have New York pride, but I'm not a homer in terms of I'll tell you that our hot dogs are nowhere near as good as Chicago hot dogs, or I'll tell you that the pretzels in Philadelphia are better than the pretzels in New York. Not even a question. It's funny because Alfred and I, one of our first meetings outside of doing the show was over deep dish. I invited him to a Lou Malnati's pop-up here in New York City at then Ken Oranger's restaurant Toro by Chelsea Market. And it was a great pie. And, it was probably one of the first experiences I had with deep dish that opened my eyes and said, hey, man, this is really good. Like, whatever, my New York pride is fine. Like, I can live in a world where both of these pizzas exist. So I love all kinds of pizzas. I love the hunt. I love the exploration. I love pizza spelunking and going out there and finding something new or finding something on a menu that I've never heard of before. I just heard of pan-fried deep dish at a place in Chicago, Connie's, just over the past couple of days, and they do a deep dish kind of like a Easter, like an Italian Easter pie. I think they're called pizzacchiana or pizzacchiana. I can't remember the pronunciation for it, but they do like a lattice. So it almost looks like, those lattice apple pies that you've seen with the cheddar crust. Yeah. Well, it's like a deep dish pizza with tomato sauce and sliced tomatoes underneath it. Like that gets me excited. I just want to go and like have this and try it and understand it. And like, that is, for me, I love all pizza and I love the hunt.
Take a breath.
That's awesome. I love the passion. I got to ask about New York pizza because I go up every week for work, but I live here in Philly, which, there's some great pizza places here, but New York is a whole different world. When you say New York pizza, are you talking about like Locali? Are you talking about the slice place down the block? Are they all, or is it like, is New York pizza to you the whole constellation of what's available?
I'm the biggest pain in the ass to ask this question because and it's the same thing when somebody asks me, hey, where's the best pizza when I'm coming into New York? I'm like, well, what are you looking for? Do you want Neapolitan? Right. Are you looking for a New York slice place? Are you looking for whole pies? Are you looking for a historic or, kind of angle? Or are you looking to have what's new, the trend, or, what are you, or is this a splash out, or is pizza going to be part of it? Or is it going to be like, I can go down into that granularity and then I will give you my recommendations by borough or whatever. I have a theory that nobody really likes in the pizza world, that also you could even make an argument that each of the boroughs almost has their own style of pizza. So, I think that for me, the baseline, it's always about a slice, not a dollar slice, but a regular slice, and then you go from there.
Alfred, do you have thoughts on that?
I think that for me, as long as I've been living now for over a decade in the New York tri-state area, I think that Joe's Pizza in Greenwich Village is probably just like the easiest place to start if you want to talk about a New York slice. That seems to me like that's the quintessential. But then, right around the corner, there's John's at Bleecker, which is another. It's not slices, it's a full pie. But those to me are the two sort of I would consider New York pizzerias.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah. It's become, those two places for me have really become like, you get the experience, you understand it, and they're so close together. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I was just at Joe's like 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, you gotta hit Joe's. Baby Luke's is probably like the most interesting place I've been to in Brooklyn recently, which was like a totally different experience, even from some of the other places in Brooklyn. But, we could talk all day, but we shouldn't because you guys probably have things to do. Are you guys thinking about doing any? Are you guys thinking about doing live shows? Have you done live shows? Are we going to do live pizza tastings in person with guests and audience?
We'd love to, actually.
Yeah, obviously.
I feel like I feel like you got to do that at some point.
It's just hard, it's just the two of us, so like, who knows what the future holds, but I would love to go to pizzeria with a guest too. I think also just having a friend of the show come on and make it sort of an event, would love to do something like that. So who knows what the future holds, but like, I think that would be an amazing thing to do.
If you want to come to Roberta's, the invitation is open.
Okay.
That's where we're based, and they're still making really amazing pizza there.
I am dying to get over there to have a slice at the new slice shop over there. I haven't done that yet, so maybe we try and figure out how we do that.
That would be great. I think your format really lends itself to a live experience. I would love to come at some point. But do you have any dream guests?
I mean, for me, I have a handful of what I would call sort of Mount Rushmore guess. But like, thinking about a question like that is also reminding me of like that saying that's like the easiest way to make God laugh is to announce your plans. So
Fair,
there are
fair.
some A-list people that I may or may not have reached out to that have also not said no, but
Yeah.
working on some stuff. We're lucky that the topic is so fun. That has nothing to do with us. That's just the topic that, and we've also had a pedigree of good guests that have come on that have been so nice and generous to come on that it lends itself to people not wanting to say no all the time. We certainly get
Mhm.
no's, but no, there's a handful of people that I don't know if I want to say, but Arthur, do you have any right now?
I'm not worried about not manifesting these people because I'm not sure. These are pretty big gets. I don't know that we'll be able to get them, but I would love to talk with pizza with Barack Obama or Bill Clinton. I'd love to talk about pizza with Stephen King. I'd love to talk about pizza with Al Pacino. I mean, I just they're Eddie Izzard. I'd love to talk with about pizza. I mean, there are there's some big gets out there that I'd love to do, but I'm also like none of our guests that we've gotten have been small fry. They've all been
Yeah.
great people. Like, yeah.
Really awesome. I can't wait to see where it goes.
We've had like a bunch of my heroes have been on the show, which has been just awesome. It's just amazing.
Really.
So we're super lucky, and it's ideally it's supposed to feel like you're hanging out and actually having that conversation in the booth with like maybe a pitcher of beer or wine or water,
Yep.
root beer, whatever you have, and just sort of like having a super engaging, sometimes super silly, but trying to be smart. We have smart guests, so it's just supposed to be really fun. I really try to make pizza with this like fun. I know a lot like great podcasts talk to the pizzeria owners and pizza makers, and they're wonderful. They get into the yeast and the ovens. This is a lot about fandom and a lot
Yeah.
about humanity and a lot about empathy and a lot about just like hanging out and celebrating this, the world's greatest food.
Not everybody can make pizza. I mean, everybody can make pizza, but not everybody can make pizza knowing like hydration and baker's percentages and getting into that level of granularity about how yeast gets active and and sourdough and feeding schedules. Not everybody can talk about that and understand that. Everybody can listen to this show, I think, and take something away from it and and there's an accessibility that is an entrance point for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I think that's the really like magic formula of the show, Like it really everyone can comment on it. That's what's great about food, but like specifically pizza because everyone has a topic or a take on a topic. Last question. What's your last best bite of pizza?
I had a really good I live not too far from a famous place in New Jersey called Star Tavern, and last time I was there and that also is just a release. We go there try to go there on Fridays. So, like, to me, that's also about I love ambiance too. So I like pizza, of course, but I also like an ambiance and being comfortable and, after a long week with, my now family of 4 to be able to drive and get a booth and, like, have a beer and have a really good bar pie with my family, is just awesome. So that's probably my last best, and that was probably a week or so ago.
This is going to sound arrogant and obnoxious, and I don't
Uh-oh.
mean it to say this way, but I think the last most memorable slice of pizza that I've enjoyed the most was one I made and it wasn't just because I made it; it was because of the satisfaction of making it successfully, finally, using a recipe from Justin DeLeon of Apollonia's in Los Angeles, who's known as doing one of the best Detroit style. He wouldn't call it that. We call it square pies. And it was something where not a sourdough guy. I don't typically like dabble in that. I'm much more of a kind of, active dry yeast kind of pizza maker, home pizza maker. But, using his instructions and working through the recipe for that and getting it pretty close and sending him a photo and him being like, yeah, looks good. Whatever you did there, you did it right. And that, I think, was a moment of more pride necessarily than just flavor. But that was the last one I would mention.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. All right, guys, we'll come back at some point soon, and I look forward to continuing to listen. Congrats on this. It's really cool, and than's for spending time here.
RJ,
for
thank
having
you
us.
so much. And also, I like the fact that, thanks for having us on. We have our pizza podcast, but you have Pizza Quest with Peter Reinhardt. And I think like that is another great, very foodie heavy show that I think we can complement each other with that. So definitely thank you so much for having us on and giving us this platform. It's been a lot of fun, RJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of the week, and
Well,
everyone out there.
RJ, what was your
Yeah.
last fit? Sorry, I don't mean to turn the tables
No,
here, but I gotta ask.
yeah, good question. Where was that? Last night I was in Carroll Gardens, and it was the place that was open late because we were out watching basketball, and now I can't remember what it was called, but maybe F and F.
F and F, yeah, that's a good one.
Remember
I
F
lived
and F?
right by there. Great area for pizza.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because I get to come up every week, so I try to like get a piece of pizza like every
Yeah,
week from
smart.
somewhere else. So that was it. Thank you for asking. But maybe let's meet up for pizza at some point. That's
Would
what we'll
love
do.
to, man.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys. For everybody else
Thank
listening,
you.
thank you so much, and we'll be back tomorrow.